And the big cheer you hear is to greet the arrival of the British pair, the home pair of young Hannah Starling, who had such a great individual Olympic Games in 2012, piloted by Rebecca Gallantry. As ever, first two rounds will be 2.0 degree of difficulty. This inward dive to start.
Yeah, steady opening dive from the home pairing. Diving once again in this beautiful aquatic centre. Many people in to support them this evening. That was tricky, opening up the contest. You need to hold the nerves. And the girls doing a very good job there. Beautiful synchronisation. Execution by Becky, just left her screen there. Throwing up a little bit of splash as she goes in, so that might not get her any more than an 8 for execution. But other than that, pretty solid start. 50 points, that's what they'd be looking for.
Yeah, around 50 to 52 is our marker rate to say whether it's been good, bad or indifferent. 50.4 it is for Great Britain to start things off with. By the way, I was the voice of Leon Taylor. And I'm Bob Ballard taking you through the two finals. Leon, a silver medalist at the 2004 Athens Olympics. Me, 2004 spoon race champion of Epping.
So second pair up, forward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. Experience, or one of the pair here, very experienced. Lynn Fedorova, 27 years old, furthest away from us here. Slightly younger partner, and Anastasia, opening up their campaign. Beautiful synchronisation. Again, looking maybe 50 points they'll be happy with, or be there or thereabouts, I think, with that opening round dive.
49.80 it is. 8.5s will count on synchronisation, 8 on execution. Remember, the marks that count are then multiplied by the degree of difficulty. The marks you see on screen with lines through them do not count. Now it's Christina Ilinch and Maria Polyakova going for Russia. Inward dive to start with for them. 2.0 degree of difficulty as ever.
Oh, a little bit shaky. This is a very young pairing. In fact, all the Russian pairings we've seen so far today seem to be under 20. These two, 19 and 16 respectively. So inward dive. Looks good on the takeoff. Slight discrepancy coming out of the pike at different speeds, I think. So the synchro marks probably won't go above an 8.
8 it is, yeah. 3 8s on synchro, yeah, they count, and 2 7.5s, so multiply that by 2, and you get 46.60, 46.80 as the opening mark for the Russians. On to the American pairing of Amanda Burke and Samantha Pickens, and they will start their program with an inward dive. Already Great Britain with 50.4, Ukraine 49, and Russia 46.8.
Well, it's very good from the US team. Quite a few of these women starting their campaign with the inward dive, keeping it very simple, fixed degree of difficulty at 2.0. This is where you can really see any differences. So the judges do not get the benefit of the replay. This is just for us, so we can see what actually went on. 8 marginally different distances from the diving board there. So, yeah, 8.5 for synchro, pretty good. Still not quite over the magic 50.
Yeah, not rich pickings, I'm afraid. 8.5 and an 8 on synchro. On to the silver medalists from Beijing. Canadian pairing of Jennifer Abel and Pamela Ware. And they will start their 5 rounds of dives with an inward dive.
Well, it looked as though they were going after that with a little bit too much gusto. I thought that Jennifer furthest away from us to the left of screen now was going to go over as she went into the water, but she's showing her ability, managing to hold the dive more upright than over, which is good. So execution-wise, I think that's one of the best we've seen. Jennifer just a little bit higher there, furthest away from us. You can see they're piking as she goes in to give the impression she wasn't going over. And the judges went with her. They gave her 8s for her execution.
Is that what you call a save, Leon?
A save, indeed.
Indeed. 2 8s on execution. Total mark for them of 50.40 to match Great Britain, who got that in the opening dive. Now, Yun and Yang, or Eng, of Malaysia with their forward dive.
Well, it ended up pretty good. So walking down the diving board, I thought that they were going to be slightly out of time, but they obviously practice it in that way. And they got it together when they were in the air, and the entry in the water, identical timing as they hit. There's not much to pick so far. Yep, as you see coming in. Yep, they got to the end of the diving board together. Open pike, so the arms in a T position. 8.5s maybe for the synchro, around about the 50 again, I would guess.
And what about mobility with that heavily strapped foot? You got a lot of bandage around that foot.
Indeed, yeah, common injury, especially for springboard divers, the ankle.
Tania Cagnotto and Francesca Dallapé. They go with their opening dive, forward dive, marks to beat, 50.40, jointly held by Canada and Great Britain.
Class act, beautifully executed, looking for the all-important rip entry into the water. Some of the ladies so far have not been quite getting their entries, as the judges would be hoping to see. The Italian pair in there of Tania and Francesca, very, very well executed. Beautiful synchro. I think that'll be maybe Tania a little bit further out than Francesca on the replay there, so the judges won't go 9s, but 8.5. There you go.
And we now have 3 pairings all on the same mark, 50.40, so matching our execution there from the Italian pair of Cagnotto and Dallapé. Mexico represented by Melanie Hernandez and Laura Sanchez. And they will go with a forward dive. This is a dive we'll be well acquainted with by now. Previous 2 did it, and Chinese will do it after this.
Well, that ended up really well. Melanie Hernandez was quite far back from the end of the diving board. It's not very springy when you're not right on the end, so she could have lost a little bit of height there compared to her partner Laura. Look here, Melanie closest to us. Look, she's a good, 10 centimetres back from the end, so she doesn't quite go as high as Laura. She was on the end of the diving board, that would have been even better. So they will be maybe a couple of points off the bunch of the leaders. Yeah.
And indeed they are. A couple of 8.5s and an 8 and a 7.5 and an 8 in execution for Hernandez and Sanchez. Now the Chinese, who have been unbeatable, invincible so far with Shi and Wu. And they will follow the Mexicans, the Italians and Malaysians with the same dive, a forward dive.
There you go. That's how you do it. It's interesting when we get to follow like for like, you can really start to see, especially on the replay, the subtle differences in synchronization. And the Chinese pairing here showing you exactly, and the judges, how it's done, both on the end of the diving board, into the pike at the same time, exiting almost at the same time, so it isn't 10s, but it will be 9s and 9.5s for the synchronized execution up there in the 9s as well, into the lead.
Into the lead by just about 3 points, 3.5 points actually, even at the stage. 9 and 9.5s for synchronization, and a good start for Shi and Wu. And the standings after the first of 5 rounds in the 3-meter synchro. China, Canada, Great Britain and Italy all joined on 2. Then Malaysia and Ukraine 5. United States in 7, Mexico in 8, and Russia in 9. Round 2 for Great Britain. Currently in second place, joint second with Canada and Italy are Hannah Starling and Rebecca Gantry. 18-year-old Hannah, Rebecca Archance. But one of the established divers in Great Britain. And try and bring Hannah to that level, which she's finding very quickly.
Oh, nice dive from the British pair. Little bit of over-rotation there, potentially from Hannah. She went into the water. Synchronization is good. They open up with a 50-pointer. I think this might be there or thereabouts as well. As you can see, Hannah just coming into her pike shape there a little bit quicker than Becky, who's closest to us. Both divers, well, in fact, Becky pulled it over a little bit, so that will cost them the touch. Will they get 50? Nearly.
Right on the cusp of it. 49.8 takes them over the 100 mark with 3 8.5s and 2 8s on execution for Hannah Starling and Rebecca Gantry in round 2. On to the Ukraine pair. Their male equivalents on the 10 had a very good day earlier on. Here's Fedorova and Nedobika. And they're going with the back dive.
Oh, that was good. Very good indeed. strong pairing. Obviously inspired by their teammates' success earlier, looking not to give anything away on these first 2 rounds, a limited degree of difficulty. Attacking the takeoff, beautiful leg line. Look at that beautiful toe point. That's going to get good marks for execution, 8.5s probably. 9s on synchro, and that'll put them slightly ahead of the first pair, the British girls.
Yeah, just edging in front, 8 and 8.5s, 9s across the board. Only the ones without lines through them count. Once again, it is the scores times the degree of difficulty gets you the final mark. On to Russia at the bottom of the moment. Lynch and Polyakova, and it's a forward dive.
That's a better dive from the Russians. Forward dive in the pike position. Many of the women opting for this in the first round. Russians opting it for the second. Good synchronization into that open pike shape and out at the same time. Very good synchro. That should give them some 9s on the synchro element. And that'll make up a little bit, yeah. There we go.
Well, there was a 9 to take it away from, though. 8.5s across the board and 8s on execution. Yeah, but then the first dive, it still leaves them trailing behind Ukraine and Great Britain. The American pair of Amanda Burke and Samantha Pickens. And they will go with a dive you've already seen in this round. It's a back dive. And to overtake Ukraine, they have to get 52.8.
No, I don't think that's quite good enough to match the Ukrainian pair. Execution potentially letting them down a little bit. Synchro was solid. Synchronization was solid on the back dive. So as we see here, takeoff, yep, in good unison, into the pike, out of the pike at the same time. Little different distances from the diving board. A little bit of splash being thrown up from both divers, so that'll keep the execution marks down a little, yeah, 7.5s and 8s. Synchro good.
But overall, did hit the magic 50 marks. That's going to just put them a little bit behind. They go above Russia, but behind Great Britain and into 3rd place. Jennifer Abel and Pam Ware from Canada, 21 and 22 respectively. Here they are with their reverse dive.
Well, a little bit aggressive again, if you ask me. Probably need just a little bit more composure. The dive getting away from Pam a little bit. Still very good. That's going to definitely keep them in contention, and that's what it's all about in these first 2 rounds. Limited degree of difficulty, 2.0. Jennifer, furthest from us, is so strong. Oh, Pamela had her toes over the end. That's why it was a little bit snatchy into that dive, and you just see her there, toes tipping over, so she might not get more than an 8 for execution. Synchro was solid. Yeah, coach is happy.
Yeah, coach is reasonably happy. They're never fully happy, are they? But yeah, she gets a high 5, so happy enough. And Canada up into 2nd, only marginally behind Ukraine. Here come the Malaysian pair of Cheong and Eng. Eng was a rhythmic gymnast before she took up diving, and Cheong only started really in the sport a couple of years ago, so a relatively new pair from Malaysia. Slightly more complicated description on this too. Back 1.5 somersaults and half a twist.
Well, it's nice to get some variety, and that was very well executed indeed. In the half twist just after the takeoff, and then spinning around into that open pike position, which is a pike position but with your arms out in a T. So it's about synchronizing every single movement, half twist together, into the pike shape. Good distances from the diving board, i.e. same distance from the diving board. A little bit off on the execution for both divers, so that's reflected in the first marks you see. Synchro is good.
Synchro is good, but the execution marks are not quite so good, so that's held them back a bit. 48.6 is their total mark, and they don't quite hit the 3 figures yet. Tania Caniato and Francesca Dallapé for Italy. Second round dive. First one getting them 50.40. Second one is a reverse dive. Again, 2.0 degree of difficulty.
Yeah, good, steady, solid and consistent. The most experienced pair. The oldest partnership actually in the field. They've been around diving together for many years. Tanya's 28, Francesca 27, the oldest competitors in this competition. By no means old, but experienced, and showing their experience now. Francesca just a touch ahead of Tanya as she hit the water there, but still they'll get 9s in synchro. There we bunched up at the top with Ukraine, Canada, Great Britain.
Yeah, nothing to choose between 1 and 5 really at the moment. 4 have gone over the 100. Great Britain, Canada, Ukraine and Italy go into the lead with that dive. Now the Mexican pair, bit of work to do. It's a bit behind on the first dive. Here's Melanie Hernandez and Laura Sanchez doing it in slow motion there for a bit.
Oh, interesting. Going for the tuck position, so bending at the hips and at the knees, placing the hands on the shins to squeeze in to show that excellent tuck shape, which they actually did. It's unusual to see the divers performing the requireds, which is what this is in a tuck position. It's a little bit scrappy. In fact, Melanie didn't even get her shins. That's, they should get penalised for that. Maybe she will. Yep, 7, 6.5 execution. That is a little costly for them. A little bit off the pace, the Mexicans.
Yeah, they lost a point or two, maybe 2 points there. 7 and 8 in execution. Not maybe what they were looking for. And that keeps them, well, going to be bottom, I think, at the end of this round, because China come next and last. It's Shi Ting Mao and Wu Mingxia. And they're going with a reverse 1.5 and 1/2 twist.
Oh, beautiful and stunning. Wow, they are certainly showing their, at the moment, currently in this competition, a little cut above the rest. Just by the way, their execution is that bit sharper, and that synchronization is just that little bit better. Although there, Wu, closest to us, wins the race to the water, slightly ahead of Shi, who's right of screen now, getting a little bit more elevation from the diving board there. But the execution is what holds them above the rest of the divers, completely ripping their entries. Look, 8.5s and 9s on execution. So 105.6 puts them in the lead.
Yeah, the coach is ripping into them for a bit there. 8.5s and 9 on synchronization, 8.5s on execution for Shi and Wu. And that's how it leaves things after round 2. Here comes page 1 for you. China, Italy, Ukraine, Canada, and Great Britain. Certainly not much between 2 and 5. And 6, 7, 8, 9 gives you Malaysia, USA, Russia, and Mexico again having a tight. Well, if you look at it, down from 2 to 9, only separated by 6 points at the moment. Round 3 is where we step it up, or more appropriately, they step it up, because we go from the 2s to the 3s. Biggest dive the Brits have is coming up next. They've chosen to go with their most important, their most difficult dive as round 3. And if they have serious pretensions of being medalists here, this dive has to work. It has to work well for Hannah Starling on the far side. Back at the gallantry nearest us. It is a forward 3.5 somersaults worth 3.1, so do the maths yourself. If they get 8s and 9s, and they project themselves up the table at the moment, they are 5th. There's only a couple of points between them and Italy in 2nd. Big one for them now.
Oh, well done, Rebecca, closest to us, landed back from the end of the diving board. I didn't think that was going to end up quite as neat and tidy as it did. It caused a little bit of discrepancy in the synchro, as you see here. Rebecca closest to us. Watch, back from the end of the diving board. That dive is difficult. It's 3.1. It's a forward 3.5 in the bike position. And Rebecca did it from the, the wrong part of the diving board. So execution marks suffer. Synchro is pretty good.
61.4. They'll be looking for better than that. 7s and 8s. They get 6 and 7. Olena Fedorova and Anastasia Nukabiga of Ukraine, currently in 3rd place after round number 2, and this is their forward 2.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Oh, that's a good job on the synchro. You notice him walking down the diving board, actually starting at different points. Now, in my opinion, that isn't synchronised, but they did get it together at this point in the dive. On the end of the diving board, they are now in time. Here they go, 1.5 somersaults, out, one twist, back into the pike position, into the water. The synchro is good. That could get 8 on the synchro, a little scrappy on the execution. Just, yeah.
I'm with you. It should be synchro from when they start the dive to when they finish the dive. Not a little funky bit before they actually get into the dive. But where the judges interpret it, they saw that as being okay. And 8 across the board for Ukraine. Now the Russian pair are going to attempt to go with the back 2.5 somersaults. And they, at the moment, not really come out of the starting blocks. 2 fairly poor rounds compared to everybody else. This is where they can get things back on track. And back 2.5 somersaults.
Well, back on track, back 2.5 somersaults, but I don't know whether they're going to be falling a little bit further back with that one. 3.0, so it's a good degree of difficulty. As you mentioned before, this is a young pairing, so out here to get the experience, to mix it up. Just running out of room a little bit there. Both divers short as they went in, having to work really hard and pull it in. Ended up being very good on the synchro. So, yes, the judges have given them 8.77 on the synchro. So that's actually a pretty good optional dive.
Well, you can rein stuff back on the synchro. The execution's not quite so good. That's one caveat, if you like, from synchros, that if you are in alignment going into the pool, then it does sometimes help. And on that occasion, it most certainly did. American pair of Amanda Burke and Sam Pickens from the USA. Only seen one 3.1 dive up till now. Here comes the second one. That's the same dive, 3.5 somersaults for the Americans.
Oh, there you go, a little bit of a hodgepodge. Mistimed on the start. Meant that, oh, cameraman doesn't know where they've gone. There they are, there they go, they surfaced. Yeah, this goes to show this is how difficult the sport is. You can see there the timing is out. And there's no way that you can suddenly race or accelerate quicker to the water. Differing times. One diver over, one diver short. That's not quite right. Let's see what the judges make of that. Okay.
Didn't like mediocre. They didn't like it. 6.5 and 6. I was a little bit concerned. A little heart and mouth job there when they went off completely different times. But they slightly repaired the damage, not completely though. And puts the United States at the back of the pack of the ones who've gone so far. Jennifer Abel and Pamela Ware for Canada in third round. They are attempting a back 2.5 somersaults. The degree of difficulty 3.0. 69 will put them ahead of Ukraine.
That isn't going to be good enough to go ahead of Ukraine. Jennifer over-rotating there as she goes into the water. The splash moving away from the diving board. Pamela also drifting over, so the execution marks will be down. Heavy 6s on execution. Let's have a little look at the synchro now. Squeezing into the pike shape. Synchro's okay, and they do both go over, so the judges could go with them. But because the execution's down, sometimes it clouds the synchro marks. Well, there you go.
7 and 2 6.5s will count. A 5 and a 6 on execution. That really doesn't do them a great deal of justice, or indeed progression in the competition. And they move behind Great Britain and Russia with that. Though it is still very tight between second and fourth, only 4 points. Chong and Eng from Malaysia, and it's a back 2.5 somersaults for them, and they really have to be right on the nail with this one if they hope to get into the top 3.
Well, overcooked it a little bit as well, just like the Canadian pair. Great takeoff, synchronization was there or thereabouts, and then both divers hanging on into their pike shape just a fraction too long and over-rotating. Here we go, good takeoff, great elevation, squeezing into that pike shape, and then look at this, double over rotation. In fact, losing legs as they go in.
They've got legs, but they don't know how to use them. 6.5 and 6 is on synchro, and 6 and 5 on execution. That does not help their cause one iota. In fact, they could be pretty close to bottom at the end of this round. Tania Cagnotto and Francesca Delapay will go for the back 2.5 again. 3.0 degree of difficulty, and although they're currently allowed standings at 8, this will surely project them up above Great Britain if they get 58.9. They will move in behind Ukraine.
Oh, everyone's struggling today. That is unusual. Multiple world medalist Tanya Kognotto just coming up there to the steps. She made a huge mistake on her dive. Here we go. All good so far. Into the pipe shape. Tanya Kognotto closest to us. Let's go way too early and goes into a super banana trying to get that in. That hurt my back watching that. I don't know about you, Bob. Are you okay?
Well, it was not very appealing, I have to say. 7.5 and 7 on synchro. 260s on execution, and 60.3 ain't very good for Italy, although they do go into second place, but everything is now bunched up. A bunch of bananas. Italy, Great Britain, Russia, and Canada. Melanie Hernandez, Laura Sanchez are Mexico. We'll see all the others faltering somewhat. Well, this being a 3.0 inward 2.5, they have a chance to move right up in the standings. Can they nail this? Because they could overtake Italy.
Oh my goodness. Well, luckily for everyone at home, I nearly swore there, but I didn't. Melanie was incredibly close to the diving board, dipping her shoulders right over. That is not good, not safe, and not diving. Look at this, just dipping right over the diving board. Luckily she goes to the side, otherwise she would have potentially hit her feet on the diving board there. The judges should penalise that heavily. I wouldn't give it more than a 4.5 because it's dangerous. Well, 5.5s is okay, but you know, we need to encourage these divers to be diving safe. Wow.
I'm not quite sure how she did avoid that.
She jumped to the side of the diving board, so she pushed herself sideways.
It was very, very tight, and the marks do reflect that. And I can tell you, 2, 2, 6 at the moment are represented by 5 points. Ukraine are out in front by 8, and then 5 countries are 5 points between them. That will all change, I predict, after we've seen Shi and Wu do their inward 2.5 somersaults, 3.0. 64 will take them into the lead, and probably a big lead as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's not brilliant from the Chinese by their standards, but that is actually almost back to normality now. This round has been, this whole of round 3 has been a little bit here and there, all the way through. And even Liu Minchao and Shi Tingmao. Yeah, it's good. It's better than what we've seen so far. A little bit low on the water, so they're probably only going to get 70 maybe, but I would expect to see more like an 80-pointer. Maybe they're affected by the pressure as well.
It could be that, and I'll tell you what, it is mighty tight at the top, though they do have a lead. It's not a big lead by any means, and then the rest are all still pretty much in with a shout. It is that tight, and this is how tight it is. Only 8 marks between the Chinese and Ukraine. Another 7 or thereabouts between Ukraine and Italy, and then all concertinaed up. Mexico, Great Britain. On to the next page, and we'll see Russia are only 0.18 behind GB. Then Canada, USA, Malaysia. I'll tell you what, down to 8, anybody could get a medal at the moment. In fact, you could say Malaysia too, but say the top 8, anybody can get a medal right now.
Yeah, it just goes to show, as soon as you start to up the degree of difficulty, the wheels can come off, and that's what we saw in that round all the way through, wasn't it, Bob? Even the Chinese faltering. So, everything's still to play for Great Britain.
Yeah, still very much with a chance. In fact, they are, at the moment, only 1.32 behind bronze. They've had their big dive, though. This is round 4. 3.1 has gone. They don't have another 3.1 to call on. They have 2 3.0s to finish off their program. And this is a dive you've seen by others. A back 2.5 somersaults for Starling and Gallantry.
Oh, that's better. That was great synchro all the way through and much more polished on the execution. Sometimes Becky has a little bit of difficulty with this dive. I'm pleased to say for her that all her hard work's paying off because she's been straight up and down on that one. That should get her 7s. In fact, they'll both get 7, 7.5 on this execution. That could translate across into more like 8, 8.5s in the synchro. And if it does, that's going to be much better.
Much better it is. 72.90 for Hannah Starling and Rebecca Gallantry. 234.48. That's a good, nice solid dive. Will certainly keep them in medal contention after round 4. The Ukraine pair will go with an inward 2.5 somersaults. Fedorova and Ugabiga. At the moment, they are second behind China and not too far shy of China either at the moment.
Oh, it's okay. A little bit tight on the water there, running out of room. Both divers just about fitting and completing the dive in time, so that means the execution marks will reflect that. They will be a little bit lower than certainly their third round dive, which was one of the better ones we saw in that round. You see that both divers squeezing in, just about getting out in time. I wouldn't give it more than a 6.5 or a 7 for execution. The synchro's okay. It's going to mix it up. Pretty generous there, I think, the judges.
Yeah, the execution may be a bit higher than we thought. 7.5 and 7, 7.5s and a 7 in synchronization. So they've just edged ahead of Great Britain, but only by 1.7 or thereabouts. It's getting very, very tight for that silver and bronze. Comes Kristina Ilinic and Maria Polyakova with the reverse 2.5 somersaults, 3.0.
Yeah, a little bit here and there, as you saw, differing rotational speeds. Didn't quite land on the end of the diving board together. Seemed to be a little bit out of sync, and that is not the name of the game. So, a little bit woolly on the execution. Let's have a look here on the replay. Yeah, different times onto the end. One goes up, one goes up. Spinning completely different rotation speeds. I don't know. 6 hits for synchro. What do you think, judges?
I thought they were doing a different dive at one stage there. 6.5 on synchro, 6 and a 7 on execution. That's well down to where they need to be if they're going to push for a medal, because now they find themselves 15 points adrift to Great Britain and 17 points behind Ukraine. Time for the US girls to step up their game as well. Only 2 more rounds to come, so now or never for them. Reverse 2.5 somersaults for Amanda Burke and Sam Pickings at the end of round 4. We'll see what they are. 8 after round 3.
Oh no, the wheels have come off on that one for sure. And this is an incredibly difficult dive, the reverse. So walking down the diving board, jumping away from it, spinning backwards towards it. You cannot see where you're going, you can only see where you've been. That means that you need to spot the water. There we are, started to go wrong here. Out of time, rotating at different speeds. Both divers making mistakes. One closest to us over-rotating, furthest away short. That isn't going to be good from a synchro point of view. Oh, look at that, 1.3.5.
On either side, really, is it? 4 and a 3.5 on the left, 4 and 4.5s on the right. And I'm afraid any slight hope they have and had of a medal has just disappeared in round 4. So we can now discount probably Russia and the United States in terms of medals. These two, though, are still very much in the mix, even though they were 7th after round 3. So tight between 2nd and 7th, and we did 8th until this round. Jennifer Abel on the far side, Pam Ware closest to us. Forward 3.5 somersaults for the Canadians. This is a big tariff. 3.1, their biggest. Could project them up the standings.
Jennifer, she must be so difficult for Pamela to get in time with Jessica, because she has got so much strength. She flies up into the air. She's got rockets for leg muscles. Look at this. Popping into the end here. It does put the synchro marginally out, because Jennifer just goes up, up and up. There she is. Pamela a little bit further away from the diving board as well. That'll keep them in contention, may even put them close to the top 2, top 3 maybe.
Well, are they able for a medal today? We'll find out where a little later on. 72.50. On to the Malaysians, Cheong and Eng, straight into their reverse 2.5 somersaults with a 3.0.
Oh, that was good from Malaysia. Very good. We saw the US pairing faltering on this exact dive. Malaysia keeping calm, doing what they need to do, ticking along, and that is a valiant effort. Here we go. On to the end of the diving board. All good, synchronized so far. It's got 8, 8.5 written all over it. Ends up okay on the end. A little bit of a discrepancy as they went in from a distance on the diving board. Other than that, yeah, look, 67.
It's all right. Might be a bit too late, though, for them to make a charge, but they are making a little inroad. 67.5 takes them up to 219, just by Russia, and about 10 points behind Canada. Third place going into round 4, Tania Cagnotto and Francesca Dall'Abe with a forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist.
That's better from the Italians, although Francesca Dall'Abe almost ended up in the judges' lap there. She seemed to step out of her hurdle step and almost face Bob and I in the commentary box here before she performed this dive. Look, as she steps down, closest to us, right on the corner. Yeah, here she goes towards the judges. Hello. Oh,
shake their hands.
Yeah, see whether they go with that or not, because ideally you need to be straight onto the diving board, not facing us.
Well, the execution not good. Synchronization okay.
Synchronization good, actually, considering that.
8, 8, 8, and 2 7s. So the judges pretty much in unanimous accord on that one. As we watch Melanie Hernandez and Laura Sanchez of Mexico. Now, if they get this right, back 2.5 somersault, they could easily be in the medals. They were 4th at the end of the last round, but this, if it's right and it's spot on, will put them probably into the silver medal position.
Oh, the younger of the pair there, Melanie, just faltering on her execution. So that obviously has a knock-on effect. Not only will her execution marks be low, that will affect the synchronization marks. 9 judges in this synchro contest. 2 for each of the pairs on the synchro, 2 for each of the divers, I beg your pardon. Highest and lowest are knocked off, and then 5 on the synchro, so it's weighted towards the synchro, and that's only 6.5, 7 on the synchro, probably because of the falter. So yeah, 4.5 and 5 for Melanie.
Well, the door was opened, but unfortunately they had it slammed in their face with that execution mark of 5.5 and 7. That really is done for their chances. Mexico in 5th place. At the moment, 9 behind Italy, and of course still China to come, and here they come. Shi and Wu, reverse 2.5 somersaults. First place after round number 3.
Oh yeah, Shi and Wu, sheer class. First class, in fact. Even really shallow. They're way back from the end of the diving board, but didn't seem to affect her. Beautifully executed reverse 2.5 from both divers. Stunning synchronization. They're going to be well into the 70s with that dive, as in the 70-point bracket, so 75 probably. Yeah, Wu just closest to us there, a little bit closer to the diving board. So what were they going to go on synchro? Yeah, 9, probably a little generous, 8.5 about right, but they'll be well in the lead now.
Yeah, they've opened up a sizable advantage. Wasn't that big over Ukraine before, but now it looks like a gold medal performance by Shi and Wu. 1 more round still to come, though. And that's how it looks. And Great Britain at the moment in 3rd place behind Ukraine. Not very much between 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th. For that matter, Italy in 4th, Canada in 5th. Look at that. Very, very tight for the medals. Aside from the gold, that is. And then probably out of the running now, the next 4, Mexico, Russia, Malaysia, and surprised to see the USA at the bottom in 9th place.
Yeah, this is wide open, isn't it, for those for the silver, bronze? Wow.
Well, setting the tone, setting the target now. Starling and Rebecca Gancher, they have nothing to respond to here, so they haven't got a chance to do what everybody else is going to do. They're going to have to do it themselves. And this is a forward 2.5 somersault, 1 twist, 3.0. Nobody's doing a 3.1 in the last round, so they're all on level pegging, DD-wise.
Oh, tremendous synchronization. Just a little bit short on the execution. The entry into the water from both divers, but the synchro is bang on. So, the British pair have laid it down for the rest of the competitors. Let's see what the judges think of this as we talk you through the replay. The execution slightly off, as I said. So, into the end of the diving board together. All looking good from a synchro point of view. 1.5 somersaults out, 1 twist in. Look at that synchronization, both short and vertical, which is a shame. So execution will be under 7s. Synchro should be above 8. What do you think? Wow, there you go.
8.5 and 8 on the synchro. Slightly marked down though on the execution, 6.5 and 7. They have gone past 300 though, with that 302.88.
That's the marker then for the rest of them.
And 202 would have won them silver in Dubai. That's how much this has improved. 300 would have been behind the Chinese in Dubai. Fedorova and Gaviga of Ukraine.
Oh, the pressure's on, and they've absolutely choked under the pressure. What a shame. Great effort on the first 4 rounds of dives, and then when it came down to it, the opportunity for a medal was there, and both divers, unfortunately, made a real hash-up of it. You never can tell what pressure does. Here we go, looks okay so far. Synchronization is there or thereabouts. Both divers going up. Whoa, surfs up, way over. They're going to get penalised heavily there. What a shame for young Anastasia. She was the one who made the mistake, only 19. She'll learn from that. Look at the synchronization, and there they were. They're being consoled by her teammate. I feel for them.
5.5 and 6, they ain't going to do it. The 3 and 7 most certainly are not. And Ukraine, who've been there or thereabouts in silver medal position all the way through, might find now they're not going to get a medal at all.
No, they won't with that, definitely not.
Russians now, final dive for them. It's a forward 2.5 somersaults and 1 twist. 82 for the lead, 65 for second. You never know, things could falter after them.
Well, that's pretty tidy from this very young Russian pair. Starting off a little shaky, I'm sure you'll agree. First 2 rounds, the required dives weren't really that impressive, but they're starting to really show some class, and that is a good, strong finish. It won't be good enough for a medal today, but this will certainly be a pair for the future. Same dive that we saw from the British pair. A little scrappy, one diver a little over there as she went in, furthest from us. Over rotation, so yeah, pretty good across the board.
Execution not though, really. 2 6s and synchro 777. The Russians have done well, the young pair, and they will get better. I'm sure when we see them at World Championships next year, they will improve greatly. Well, it's not going to be the USA's day. You can go and enjoy Westfield Shopping Centre for the rest of the weekend after this. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Last round. At the moment, they are last of the night.
Now that's their best dive. They'll be pleased with finishing strongly. And it's always a testament of the athletes when they can pick themselves up from some mistakes, which is what happened certainly in round 4 for this pair on their reverse 2.5. That was a good finish, finishing strongly. Too little too late, unfortunately, to feature today in the business end of the field. But this is more like what they'll be after. Beautiful synchronization. That will get 8s on synchro for sure. But you can't make a mistake. Every single dive counts. Dave Parrington, the coach there, giving them their feedback. 69.3 to finish.
Yeah, good. 3 8s on synchro, 7 and 7.5 execution. They did save the best till last. Sadly, it was too late for them to make any real inroads into the medals. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting, because GB have first place, Ukraine have second, Russia have third, but we still have Canada to come. Here they come, and with China still to come, and we have Italy to come. So the medals are not cut and dry by any means. And Jennifer Abel and Pam Ware will want to get this one right. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. A medal on the line for these two.
Oh, they really want a medal. The pressure was on. The British pair laying down the gauntlet, and the Canadians responding. This will be really tight between those two. I wouldn't like to call it. See which way the judges at half point here or a half point there will make the difference. This is very well executed. This is going to be incredibly tight, I wouldn't like to say. Wow, here we go. Come on, let's get the scores up as we're watching the replay. Let's see the scores. Who is going to be currently top of the leaderboard? Kisses from the coach.
Oh, look at that. It's a second. It's a second behind Great Britain. You know what? The margin between first and second is 0.24 of a mark. Less than a quarter of a mark separating Great Britain and Canada. So I'm doing a few calculations here. We're not quite sure yet, because there's still a few more yet. We can't say who's going to get medals. Great Britain certainly put themselves in the frame for a bronze at least. And they've just edged Canada into second by a small margin. Here come the Malaysians. Cheong and Eng finishing off with an inward 2.5 somersaults. 83 takes them in the second place.
Well, it's a good finish from the Malaysians. It won't be an 83. I don't think that they're going to stand on the podium today. They've been outclassed by some of the other pairs. We saw some bursts of brilliance, though, early on, and then faltering slightly, but it's all about consistency. This is a strong dive for them to finish on. Inward. Spin speeds are a little bit out, straight up and down. It's going to be, what, mid-60s, 65, 66, something like that. It won't be good enough to stand on the podium for this occasion.
7 and 6. That's 37.5p. And 87.5 and 8 on synchro. I can confirm pretty much that Great Britain have a bronze medal, at least for the domestic audience here. Those are getting on the edge of their seats, and Great Britain not got a medal in this in the World Series thus far. Cagnotto and Dalapé, 4th after the last round. This will either keep them in 4th or give them a chance of silver. Inward, 2.5 somersaults, 3.0. 71 puts them in the lead.
I think they need 8s. They need 8s in order to top Canada, and Great Britain is 3.0. Why is it good enough? So execution was a little low, so maybe 7.5 on execution. Synchro is good, so it's going to be pretty tight. I think they might have just done enough. If the judges give them more than 8s for synchro, which I think that will get, then they're going to jump into, well, first on the leaderboard, but we've still got divers. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do go into the lead. Italy lead in the final round. Synchronization very good. 9s and 8.5s. 8s and a 7.5 means that they are definitely going to get a medal. Great Britain bounced down to 2nd place.
Canada out of the medals, but bearing in mind we've got the Chinese still to go.
And Hernandez and Sanchez doing calculations here. Yeah, pretty much done and dusted for them. Not really got the chance on this dive, I think, to get enough points to scrabble their way in. Looking at 84. Yeah, 84, that means 9.5 average, which is a lot. Even 9 average gives them 80.88. That would be enough for a medal. So they'll want to finish, will Melanie Hernandez and Laura Sanchez, as strongly as they can. Try and get as close to that 300 mark already achieved by Italy, Great Britain and Canada. Last dive from the Mexicans.
Yeah, and that's pretty good for the Mexicans there. Probably one of their best dives. A little bit off. We've got Melanie there, just a little inexperienced. Standing next to the very composed Laura Sanchez. She's competed at multiple Olympic Games, multiple World Championships. Melanie, much more early on in their diving career. Probably just feeling the pressure a little bit, faltering slightly. She does have a lot of strapping on her lower back, so maybe she's coming back from injury. So you'll see her execution marks coming up, and they will be much lower, maybe around the 5s, 5.5s, yeah.
Yeah, 5 and a 7. And synchro across the board 7.5. So Mexico are putting in the finish in about 7th place. 6th at the moment on 254. Sorry, 284.10. So, are we looking at the gold medalists? Chances are we are, because they need what should be a mere trifle for them. For the cherry on the top, 52.80. She and Wu just need to complete this backward 2.5 somersaults and say hello gold.
Yeah, hello gold indeed. Tremendous final dive from the Chinese. Never really in question. Never really put under pressure at all here today. They really are a cut above. Truly first rate. Class act. Let's have a little look. Beautiful synchronization. They're going to win by a country mile. Yeah, they could get close to 80 points on this if the judges go with them. Stunning synchronization. 8.5s on execution, I would guess, as well. And Team China, yeah, ruling the roost as always, or as normal, certainly in this event. Untouchable today.
Well, they're used to that. They've already done it the first 2 Diving World Series events. And they make it a hat-trick of gold medals to Shi and Wu. 78.30, giving them 332. But that means it's gold for China, as anticipated. Italy sneaking into 2nd place, and Great Britain, to the delight of the crowd at the Aquatic Centre here in London, have edged out the Canadians from bronze by just 0.24 of a mark. Let's give you confirmation of the result. All the nations represented here. Well, the first 5 on that sheet anyway. China, Italy, Great Britain with the bronze. Canada just in 4th. Then Ukraine, who were in 2nd for so long until they dropped their last dive.
The winners in Beijing, the winners in Dubai, and the winners here were, of course, the same in China. Look at that, big smiles. Rebecca on the right there, Hannah on the left. Hannah only 18, sorry Hannah, 18.
Well, she really did relish her opportunity to be here at the Olympic pool, as it was then, the now Aquatic Centre of London, and she got the crowd on side. She went on the board, she smiled, she waited, they cheered, they got excited, and she's back here with a bronze medal. 302.88, just edging out the Canadians in the 4th. Hannah Starling and Rebecca Gallantry top the all-important 300 mark with a British bronze. Inside that box are desk lamps from the sponsor, NVC. I'm sure we'll find a use for those. Italy with the silver medals. Francesca Dallapé and Tania Cagnotto. Silver for them. Again, very established pair. Does help when you've got that kind of symmetry and telepathy. We've done it week in, week out, both in training and in competition. And just ahead of the British pair for silver. In the end then, there was a massive chasm between these two and the rest. Shi Tingmao and Wu Mingxia of China. Just so good all the way through. Hardly put a foot wrong. Solid on everything they did. As they got to the bigger dives, they 3.0s. All works well for them. And the gold medal in the women's 3-meter synchro goes to Shi Tingmao and Wu Mingxia. 3rd of the Diving World Series. And he wouldn't bet against them doing it in the remaining ones either. Gold for China, Italy with silver, and Great Britain with the bronze, as we hear once again the Chinese national anthem. Smiles that radiated around Beijing and Dubai. Now do likewise in London. Well, we also ought to mention in all the other events we've seen so far, China have been at the forefront. They've won all the events. Now, that is not the case in the 3-meter synchro. In fact, they haven't won one of the events so far.
Yeah, surprisingly. So they're made up of, the team China, made up of He Chong and King Kai, who are phenomenal individual divers. They're together as a synchro pairing, and they haven't quite got it together. But when they do, they're going to be electric. But, of course, Russia topped the table in Beijing in March, and then the Germans ended up topping the table in Dubai. China silver in both World Series so far.
So here we go. Start of the competition. Crowd are expectant. They want to see their boys do well. Their boys being Jack Law and Chris Mears, a relatively new pairing, but Jack has done very well at European and world level. And also Chris made the semi-finals in the Olympic Games. So we can do on the springboard together.
Yeah, they've been looking good in training. I must admit, this is an exciting new partnership. Both of them are Jack's 19 now, Chris 21. They've got the world at their feet. They're both exceptional individual divers. Can they get it together today? And the answer to that question so far is yes. That'll see them sail over 50 points, which is what they've been looking for. Beautifully executed, bang on the synchro, competition underway.
Well, Jack, you're back. 52.20. Him and Chris, good start for them. 9s and 8.5s on the right, 8.5 and 8.5 on the left. Remember, the marks with a line drawn through them do not count. Lines without do, they're multiplied by a degree of difficulty, which will be in the first 2 rounds 2.0. Back dive for Kuznetsov and Zakharov of Russia to start.
Yeah, classy, as you'd expect from such a formidable pair. I don't think it's going to be too much better. They're like for like. So the British boys opening up their campaign with this exact dive. The Russians electing to do the same. In and out of the pike shape together. Out. It's going to be a bag full of 9s on the synchro. 50-something, 54 maybe.
Up to 54. 3 9s, 2 9s. Synchronization, execution, absolutely identical. 54 exactly for Russia. 8 pairs in the men's. 6 rounds in total. First 2 rounds, all 2.0. So we get into some big numbers later on. Come to that when we get to it. Asman and Nui of Malaysia. Their opening dive is a back dive.
Nice. The back dive in the tuck position. Yeah, I knew that it was coming. It's on my sheet. And it looked pretty good. Unusual. Most divers using or selecting the pike position. And the tuck, in and out, really sharp. Let's have a look at this. Swinging the arms, in the slow motion, of course, into that tuck shape and out. I don't know if they actually put their hands on their shins or not. Either way, it looked pretty classy. It'll get them over 50 points as well.
Nice solid start for the 3 pairs that have gone so far. Russia, Great Britain and Malaysia are in that order. 51.00 for the Malaysians. 8.5s on the right and on the left. The Dumay boys, Dwight and Troy, they're going to go with a back dive as well. So exactly the same dive you saw from Great Britain and from Russia. They're going to execute and to take the lead. They're going to have to try and match the Russians with a 54. Dwight and Troy Dumay for USA.
Yeah, good stuff on the brothers. Troy closest to us, a grand old age of 34. How about that? You won't mind me saying, I've known Troy since we competed together as teenagers many, many years ago. And look at him, he's still going, the old dinosaur. Not bad. With his younger brother, 7 years his junior. And yeah, just what they need in the mix.
51, absolutely the same as Malaysia. 8.5s and 8 on the left, and 8.5s times 2 and a 9 multiplied by 2 gives you 51. Here come the Mexicans. Always some interesting things for them. There will be later on in their program. They finish with a big one, as indeed do Great Britain. When it comes to Ocampo and the Pacheco. A nice sedentary start in comparison. This is a back dive again. The 201B for you technocrats, same as Great Britain, Russia and Malaysia, and indeed the USA.
I didn't know that technocrat was a word, but I do now. Wonderful dive for the Mexicans. This gives us a lovely comparison on the intricacies of this challenging activity, sport, discipline, the synchronized diving. Not only do you have to perform the dive to the best of your ability, you have to be perfectly in time, in this case with a bloke next to you. And the Mexicans doing a good job there. They need to, because everyone is coming out with 50 points plus, and if they want to stay in contention, that is what they need. Limited degree of difficulty, of course.
Nobody faltering yet, though. 51 for Mexico and for Malaysia and for the US. All pretty much of the muchness, all doing the same dive, so easy comparison. Slight change here, not the same dive you've seen before. It's a forward 1.5 somersaults for the Ukraine, Korbazav and Kavasha.
Yeah, mixing it up a little bit, but still the important elements were there. The synchronization, the spin speeds, almost identical. Distance from the diving board the same, entry into the water the same. That means the judges aren't going to be able to take off very many. So, of course, we're looking for the perfect 10. That will not be a perfect 10. You can see just a slight mistime there. So it will be 9s for the synchronization. Execution is good also. It'll be in the middle of the 50, yeah, 52.2.
9s and 8.5 synchro to 8.5s execution-wise. They join Great Britain in second place. Now, we normally expect the Chinese to be going last. They're not, because the virtue of they've not won an event here in the series yet. Chong and Qin Kai going for China. Well, they didn't win in Beijing. In front of the home crowd, they were expected to. And, well, Chinese swimmers will go back to the 10 meter, perhaps, the last event held in this pool before this event. But for the 3 meter, it's a back dive for He Chong and Qin Kai.
Yeah, that's bang on the money, isn't it? Synchro point of view. But of course, no one's faltering in this field, so you're not going to see anyone opening up a big lead. So He Chong closest to us, Qin Kai furthest away. Yeah, it's going to get 9s. Execution certainly. Synchro probably a bag full of 9s as well. So, yeah, who will be in the lead? Russia, China? I'm not sure.
Well, it is just China, but not much in it. 54.6 edges them just in front with those 9.5 and 9 synchronizations and the 2.9 executions. So China in the lead right now, but still another pairing to go. I was thinking when the Chinese go, that's the end of the round, but still another pairing to go. Stefan Feck and Patrick Housding, who did the 10 meter earlier today, back for the 3 with a back dive for the opening dive.
Yeah, it must be difficult following the Chinese, finishing off the round. Important you keep your composure, and that's exactly what the German pair of Housding and Feck have done. Stood on the board, taking a deep breath, and away they go. Are they as synchronized as the pairs previously? Is their execution as good enough? It's not far away. I think the Chinese and the Russians marginally better. The Germans probably just behind them, but nothing to separate the top 8 probably.
Well, it is 3.6 separating the top 8. In fact, 3 of them are joined on 6, 2 of them are joined on 4, but we do have a clear 1, 2, 3 after that. 53.4 for Germany. And end of round 1, we see China in the lead by merest margin, 0.6 over Russia. Germany in 3rd, Great Britain, Jack Law and Chris Mears up next are in 4th place. Here they come. As always, first 2 rounds are 2.0 degree of difficulty, so the big ones don't come in yet, but you're still got to get your dives right in the first 2 if you possibly can. And here they come.
Nice, not quite as good as their first dive. Chris Mears, the furthest away from us, that is hanging 10. Toes over the end of the diving board as he came in there to land out of his hurdle step. Managed to control it. He did throw them slightly different distances from the diving board. So probably not as good as their opening dive. jack a little bit from the end, so moving it further away from the diving board. And both of them washing slightly over. A little bit shaky, a little bit off the pace on that one. Still good, 102.6 so far.
50.4 the marks, 8.5s across the board on synchro. Evgeny Kuznetsov and Ilya Zakharov for Russia. Second after the first round. Here comes their forward 1.5 with one twist.
Interesting choice of dive. I quite like it. The British pair choosing a reverse dive. Very, very simple this. Got a lot going on. So you've got the hurdle step, obviously. They are in time. Swinging the arms up. Here comes the one twist. Across the axis and then folding in to complete the 1.5 somersaults. Great execution. Ilya is the Olympic champion after all in the individual. Well, there you go. 106.8. That's the marker.
Happy with that. Almost a smile from both of them as they went into a plunge pool there. Russia leading Great Britain. That's very early stages. 4 more rounds, of course, after this, and we get into the big tariff dives next. This is only kind of setting up the event, certainly not the event itself yet. Azman and Uy of Malaysia, 6th at the moment, joint 6th, going for an inward dive.
Yeah, opting for the tuck position, bending at the hips and at the knees. All about being neat and tidy. Rip entry, completely vertical entries into the water to ensure most execution marks from the judges. Execution marks will appear first on the left-hand side of the screen. Highest and lowest of those execution marks are removed to leave 2. Execution marks counting, and then the synchro marks from the remaining 5 judges. Only 3 of those count. So the lines through the marks are the ones that don't count. And there we go, 49.8. First under the 50, I think, so far.
That's right. So they're just edged because of the first round. Over 100, going to 3rd place behind Russia and Great Britain. American pairing of the Day-1b boys, Dwight and Troy. And another inward dive to watch. 2.0, 55.8 puts them in the lead.
Nice, good effort from the brothers. Interesting, both the Malaysia and the US opting to do the diving tuck position. Not most commonly chosen. The Americans doing a great job of it there. Arms through, moving away from the diving board. Good distance, great execution. So distance from the diving board's the same, hitting the water at the same time. That means 9s for synchro at least. Yeah, nice.
Nice indeed. That'll do very nicely for them. 104.4. It's not a radio station in this locality. That is their marks after 2 rounds. Ocampo and Pacheco of Mexico. It's a reverse dive, 2.0 for them. Mexicans, another one of the joint 6th pairings after round 1.
Nice. Ramel, 27 now, closest to us. More experience in the pair, normally seen on the platform, but a formidable springboard diver. And his partner keeping things steady, staying with it. Good board timing, great synchronization, little bit of changing style, if you like, exiting the dive there. So that might give them 8.5 probably on the synchro. Yeah, just under 50.
Yeah, bang on Leon, 8.5s it is across the board, 8.0 for execution. Again, just under the 50 mark for Ocampo and Pacheco. Gosh, Govasov and Ilya Kvasha for Ukraine. We know what Kvasha can do. As a younger colleague, we're not quite so sure about yet.
Nah. Well, it's early days, and we are in the limited degree of difficulty, but no pairs are thus far giving anything away. Ukrainian solid. Back dive with tuck. Interesting, choosing the tuck position. Seems to be more common than the pipe position for this World Series. A little bit in and out there at different times out of the tuck. So, yeah, second round isn't quite as the quality of the first. But still, not much in between the majority of the teams.
51 puts them above Great Britain and just behind the United States, but very little to choose between any of the teams at this stage. All the pairings are very, very closely matched. He Chong, Shin Kai, fairly easy dive for them. Routine, reverse dive.
Yeah, routine and reverse. Yeah. Well, there's not much to choose from between any of these teams. Probably China and Russia will have their noses slightly out in front. So much height. Look at that. Way above the 5-metre board there. All the way up towards the 7.5-metre board. Incredible power. Superb poise. And marks to boot. There you go. 109.8.
They also want to win, and they haven't done so far in the World Series. It's their third attempt. At the moment, they are leading. Oh, Germans are off. Here they come.
No, forward dive pipe, a little bit scrappy. Well, they did want to get the dive in and out of the way. And it seems, I think Patrick had a little bit of trouble with his hurdle step there. Let's have a look, see if we can. Patrick closest to us. Big, powerful step into the hurdle. But Patrick's jumping towards us. He's way back from the end of the diving board. So that does put him out of line with his partner, which will put him, well, a little bit off the pace, actually. So they're all bunched up anyway, regardless. This is where the competition starts from here onwards. Limited degree of difficulty out the way. 4 rounds of optionals.
Coming up next, that was the ones they have to do. Next 4 rounds, they get to choose what they do, and China are choosing to be where they rightfully believe they belong, at the top. Russia in second, joint third Germany and USA, and Ukraine, Great Britain and Malaysia and Mexico sharing 7th place. Great Britain in 6th place. Now we're getting into the real meat and two veg of the competition. 3.4. The big one's coming. They've got even bigger dives to come later on, but this is a rack up from 2.0 to 3.4. They're smiling, they're looking happy, they're getting great support from this London crowd. Now, it's a fairly new pair, fledgling pair if you like, of Jack Law and Chris Mears are going to do a forward 2.5 somersaults with 2 twists. Currently in 6th place, 3.4 with a degree of difficulty on this. That's a big one. That's one of many big ones they're going to have during the course of the evening.
Yeah, it's good. 3.4. This is, as I say, where the competition really starts. Where leads can open up and people can bomb out of the competition. So no top bombing for these boys so far. That is on the money. Jack closest to us. Maybe faltering a little bit more than Chris as he goes into the water. A little bit over of vertical. Ducking his heading a little bit. Letting the dive wash on. Good effort from Mears, furthest from us. Good synchro. Yeah, 82.6.
Well, I think you find leads have opened up because that's where they dive. 8.5 and 8. And 7.5 and 8. On execution, the 2 boys from City of Lead Club are at 185.22. Evgeny Kuznetsov and Ilya Zakharov for Russia. 2 solid dives to start. Now the big ones come in with 3.5 somersaults, 3.4.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Ended up okay. A little bit scruffy. Both of them got into the water upright and relatively clean, but it wasn't the tidiest effort that I've ever seen. It's a huge dive. Got to stay right over the diving board. Look at the beautiful synchronization. But then I'm seeing, yeah, feet come apart a little bit from both divers there. So that could affect both, right? Are they going to get over 80 points? Yeah, they do. Wow.
81.6 to be precise. 81.60 to be more precise. And 8 on execution and 8 right across the board on synchro as well. That's one. Ahmed MCR, and we see Liang of Malaysia. Yeah, we've left the 2s well and truly behind now. We're into the 3s and the mid-range 3s with these 2. which translates to an inward 3.5 somersaults. At the moment they are 7th, but nobody has yet been cast adrift. That's because we're getting into the big stuff now, and this is where things will start to change.
Yeah, just showing you how difficult that dive is. The Russians nailing theirs. Team Malaysia there just faltering. Good synchro. Execution just not quite where it needs to be. Here we go. Take off. Strong. Squeezing into that tuck shape. Almost there. Diver's closest to us, just doing a bit of a forward roll as he enters the water. Be costly on the execution. Probably going to give him lower marks than his partner.
Ready for confirmation on him.
And the synchro. Let's see. There we go.
7.5 and a 7 on synchronization. Execution 6.5 and 7.5. So that's a 73.44 total for the Malaysians, who move into 3rd. About 11 points behind Great Britain and 14 behind Russia. So starting to already lose a bit of ground over a couple of potential medalists. USA. Again, really faltering, as Liam mentioned in the opening 2 rounds. So it's almost like we're starting the competition all over again from round 3 onwards. And for the American brothers, Dwight Dumais and Troy Dumais, it is the 3.1 this time, slightly lower tariff, forward 3.5 somersaults.
Yeah, nice work. Yeah, it needed to be good because it is only 3.1. We've seen the others busting out the 3.4s in this round 3 of 6. That's a good effort. Speaking to Troy earlier, he said he's feeling a bit jet lagged. I told him he was old, but he said it was jet lag. Anyway, he's still, well, sprightly, doing his thing. A beautiful dive from both brothers. Good synchro too. Yeah, not quite happy there, Dwight. You all right? Let it go. It'll be fine. Next dive.
Place ready to explode. Calm down, man. Calm down. Jair Ocampo and Ronald Pacheco of Mexico, 3.4. Up into that bigger bracket this time. That's where the Mexicans feel most comfortable. Forward 3.5 somersaults, 2 twists. This to take them into the lead if they get it right.
Well, unfortunately, it's forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists. I don't think the forward 3.5 with 2 twists is possible, although the Mexicans do like to invent new and exciting and difficult dives. That was good from Pacheco. His partner, Jair, looks so strong. Looks like he spends a lot of time in the gym. You can see his muscles rippling from here. Actually getting a little bit more height from the diving board than Pacheco. 3.4. Good synchro, 8.5 on synchro, I guess. Yeah, it's going to get them 85. Nice, 84.7. So.
Yeah, just in behind Russia and just ahead of Great Britain, but only by 0.24 of a mark. Execution marks good. Synchro marks likewise. Ukraine pair, Kavasha, Kovazav. They're going for 3.4 as well. With a big tariff in with 3.5.
Oh, nice again. Little scrappy in the tuck position as they were coming out of the dive, losing their legs slightly. But other than that, a great and valiant effort. In my opinion, they could stay over the diving board a little bit more to ensure increasing their height. They're just moving their hips back and shooting back a little bit. But they both did it, so it means that they're in line as they go in. Oh, nice. That's going to get a nasty synchro for sure.
Mark's good.
Yeah, big dives.
8.5s on the synchro. 7.5 and 8 on the execution, just slightly down, but nonetheless, 83.6 is good. Very good. Lifts them up into 2nd, behind Russia. Probably not quite where we want to be at the moment. On to the Chinese, He Chong and Qin Kai's forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was very good. I was interested to see how this pair were going to perform, as they haven't quite got it together in the fashion you would expect from such exceptional individual athletes. And at round 3, the first of the more difficult dives, the optional dives, that's bang on the money. That'll be a handful of 9s and 8.5s on the execution, and probably the same on the synchro, so we could see our first 90-pointer, or it might be just shy. Let's wait and see.
I think somebody rattled the Chinese cage after the first 2 World Series events. They've come back storming here with that 90.8, which takes them into the lead by 12 points. How will the Germans respond? Forward 2.5 and 2 twists. They don't hang around, these boys.
No, they don't. And, well, are they feeling the pressure? Following the Chinese with exactly the same dive. The judges have just seen and awarded the Chinese very highly indeed for their effort. The Germans following up with their forward 2.5, 2 twists. Patrick all over the shop on his hurdle step. He really slipped off with half of his foot then, so incredible to finish it up like he did. I don't know, a bit tired from the platform maybe before at lunchtime. It's a lot of diving.
It's a lot to ask, isn't there? No prelims, of course, in either of these two, but nonetheless, a lot of diving. 78.5 for Germany. And, well, they're a little bit down the pecking order at the moment, even though when we look at the stats and all the calibrated scores, we'll notice there's nothing really to choose between 2 and 7. And here is the top half of the board for you. I think we'll give it always on one graphic we can there. China in the lead by 12. Ukraine just over a point behind. Mexico about the same. Great Britain even less behind Mexico. USA in the mix. Germany in the mix. I think the only ones who probably cast adrift now are the Malaysians. All 7 at the top there, still in medal contention. They're back to a big, rousing response from the home fans who are really trying to get these boys in the frame for a medal. At the moment, they are 5th. They are Jack Law, and there's one of the coaches on the right-hand side.
AD and Edwin, both Lee's diving coaches.
It's the boys on the 3-meter board, hoping to respond to what their coaches have told them in the lead-up. And this one is an inward 3.5 somersaults, 3.4 the degree of difficulty for Law and Mears, who are 5th after round 3.
Oh, are they feeling the expectation? A little bit shy on their exit of the dive there. Takeoff was good, very strong, and they just weren't quite so confident or positive on the entry into the water. So all looks good so far for the British boys. Beautiful synchro, look at that. And then you just see, yeah, not quite confident on the exit of the dive there. So the marks will be a little bit down for execution. Look, there we are, 6.5 and 5.5 for Chris. 76, that could open the door for the likes of Russia, Ukraine, USA, Mexico. Let's wait and see.
Well, they do have a very big dive at the back end of the programme, but they need to be in contention to be able to use that. It's almost like their joker. Kuznetsov and Zakharov have a big card to play here as well.
This is tough, this dive, really tough.
2nd place. Back 3.5 somersaults, a lot to get in on the 3-meter board.
Oh, and as you say, Bob, a lot to get in, and our Olympic champion there, Zakharov, not doing a very good job at all. He obviously did that much better 18 months ago when he won the Olympic gold, but wow. Let's have a look. Where did it go wrong? Just not quite getting the extension, just getting into his tuck shape a little bit too early, running out of room, turning into a banana and losing his feet as he finished into the water. He didn't go yellow, turned into a banana because his the arching in his lower back. Speaking in metaphors.
They've split the marks. 6s and 6.5 and the 7.
Interesting, 4 and 6. Is that because he's Olympic champion, do you think? One of the judges?
Could be.
Yeah.
Might have a little influence. On to the Malaysians. Here's an interesting combination for them to try and cram in as well. 3.4. Gosh, can they get all this in? A forward 2.5 somersaults with 2 twists. Well, this is how they're going to try and do it.
Yeah, easy. That's their best dive so far. Only 20 and 21. What an exciting time. Taking the to the diving boards for their country. Commonwealth Games for this pair later on this year here in the UK, actually, up in sunny Scotland. We're in foggy London today, and there's a little bit out on the synchronisation. Opening in the dive a little bit at different times, so the judges will penalise. 7.5 probably for synchro, yeah.
But 76.5 is okay. It's not bad at all, and will help them up towards Russia and Great Britain. Great Britain just in front of Russia right now, with plenty of big names still to come, though, including these two, Dwight and Troy Dumais. There's 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, 3.3 degree of difficulty.
Oh, steady on there, Troy. A little bit back from the end of the diving board. Has a little look up as he enters, safely, thinking, oh, were my feet a little close? Looking over to the coach, Dave Pounton, who's looking after them here to see, look, Troy closest to us. Leaning back as he goes in. Oh, he's way back from the end, and he's got to pull his shoulders right over the diving board. Yeah, his feet are okay. They don't want to be any closer. Dwight, his brother, getting a much better ride from the diving board because he landed on the end. So, yeah, not so good from the US divers this round. Round 4 of 6.
Yeah, 7.5s on synchro, 8 on execution. That puts him in just behind Great Britain and above Russia. 4th place, definitely in medal contention, provided this goes right. In with 3.5 somersaults again, 3.4. 3-meter ball, remember, 3.5 somersaults to get in from basically 5 meters. That's a lot. Ocampo and Pacheco will do it right now.
Oh, with ease as well. Ocampo really coming to form. How old is he now? 24. He stopped me earlier and said, oh, I had my photo with you when I was 12. And I said, thanks very much. Anyway, he's out there today, 24. He's made it on the senior team. Diving in Mexico is hugely popular. And I think this young boy, well, 24-year-old, is going to go a long way. That's a good dive from both of them. And the Mexicans throw their hat into the ring. Are they top of the leaderboard after that, Bob?
Well, there'll be a Mexican hat dance after that. 80.6 to 66.04. They go 5 points clear, well, 4.5 points clear of Great Britain. On to Ukraine. And Gorsh Kovasav and Ilya Kavasha. 3.5, 3.5 somersaults.
Oh, nice. Very nice indeed. Risky. It's the reverse 3.5. It carries a 3.5 degree of difficulty because it is tricky. And lots could go wrong. I'm watching them in training, and it wasn't quite as good as this. So they've obviously been saving the best for the competition, which is what they need to do. That's going to get them mid-80s. Good synchro. Good execution. That's what we're after. A little bit scruffy, so we won't see any 9s. There's probably 6.5, 7 on the execution there for Korshkov.
Into the lead, there they go. 8.5s on synchro,
nice.
7 and 8, and they edge in front of Mexico. And Great Britain are there in 3rd place. For the time being, of course, all that may be in a few seconds' time completely incorrect, because the Chinese are going with in with 3.5.
Oh yeah, well, they're not dropping any of their juggling balls so far today. Not quite sure what happened in the first 2 legs. They're faultless so far. That's 2 out of 2 on the optional rounds of dives for this pair of Hee Chong and King Kai. This is a bag full of 9s. All the way, both execution and synchro. It's going to be 90 points or thereabouts again, making them very difficult to keep up with.
Nice little 88.7 to 89.32. Execution marks 9 and 8. Into the lead by 18 points. They go off the back of that. Feck and Housding in with 3.5 somersaults, 3.4 rather, last dive of round number 4.
Oh, Patrick. Are you tired? Have you had enough? Or is it the fact that you're following the Chinese, or didn't you have enough to eat at dinner time? Who knows? But it isn't working for him this evening, which is a shame. Hausting closest to us. Exactly the same dive as the Chinese again. So Stefan Feck furthest away. He's higher. He's spinning quicker, and he makes the dive. Stefan Feck's spinning a little bit slow. Oh, sorry. Hausting tucks his head in as he goes in. Over-rotates. Costly mistake. And further back.
I think they may well be out of it now. Got a lot to make up in 2 rounds if they're going to do it. 69.4.
Interesting, the winners in Dubai are at almost the bottom of the pack so far.
Round 4 completed. China in the lead. Big margin between them, Ukraine, then Mexico. 6 points behind. Great Britain still in contention for a medal, as indeed are America. Troy Dumais and Dwight Dumais, and the Russians in 6th. All right, well, it's a couple of big dives to come for the Britons now. They're keeping their, I would say their best to last, potentially their best to last. It's a big, big tariff dive. It's an all-or-nothing dive for them, really. And a 3.3 coming up now. AD Hinchcliffe watches on. From the City of Leeds, and this is what they're going to perform. So again, a lot to cram in. Those complicated dives in terms of description anyway. Doesn't look quite as complicated when they do it, but certainly in terms of reading it out. Reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, 3.3 degree of difficulty. Great Britain just need to keep in.
Yeah, that is nice. Really, really strong effort. 3.3. So it's up there in the degree of difficulty, not quite as big as some of the dives that are going to follow them, so it needed to be good to put the pressure back on. The GB boys in 4th after the 4th round. This is their 5th round effort, and that's a better one. There we are, good hurdle steps on both of them, 1.5 twists. Folding in, Chris wobbling a little bit closer to the diving board than Jack. So what are they going to get in synchro? 8s in synchro?
8.5 and 2 8s actually, and 8.5 and an 8 in execution. So that's 81.2 for Law and for Mears. For the time being anyway, they go into 1st place. Kuznetsov and Zakharov for Russia. Reverse 3.5 somersaults, 3.5 on this one.
Oh, that is good from the Russians. Slightly faltering on their round 4 dive, the back 3.5, especially from Ilya Zakharov, the Olympic champion, but he's come out, left that dive in a much better condition than his previous one. And that's good from the Russians. It is 3.5. That's going to get them high 80s for sure. Don't think it'll be enough to put pressure on the Chinese, or will it? Who knows?
88.20 for Kuznetsov and Zakharov. And for the time being, at least, they are into the lead. 3 points clear of Great Britain. Malaysians probably the only pairing now, you would think, who don't really stand a chance for a medal, because their tariffs may not quite allow them to get back into that. But 3.5 is big from their point of view. 3.5 somersaults in the reverse position for Li Si Liang and Asman Ahmed Amzyar.
Well, that's pretty good, Asman. Closest to us. Did have a little bit of trouble with this in training, but he seems to have got it together for the competition. He was closer to the diving boards, which means the synchro marks aren't going to be quite as good as we saw there for the Russians, and the execution's a little bit down. Asman closest to us here. Wow, he's only got 1.5 feet on the board. I don't know how he managed to actually do this dive. Well done. Well done, that man.
Well, he wasn't defeated on that one, fortunately. 7.5s on synchro, 6.5s on execution, and nearly an early bath for him as he fell off the board, but it was okay. Malaysia in behind Great Britain and Russia, and the Americans maybe ready to pounce. 3.5 again, mid-range of the 3s, some 3.8s to come. Reverse 3.5 somersaults for Dumais and Dumais.
Day-1b. Well, there is a big, big difference in the dives there, mainly in the distance from the diving boards. Dwight, halfway down the pool, almost by the second black line that you would follow if you were swimming in this marvellous aquatic centre. Troy, much tighter to the diving board, and pleased to say not too tight. His distance from the diving board is okay. Dwight seems to skip off into the middle of nowhere. Troy has actually hit his head on the diving board in this dive a few times before, so very brave to be still competing and doing this. Yeah, there we go, look at that, 6, 5.5, 6 for the synchronisation. That puts them off the pace.
Yeah, well off the pace now. They're going to have to have an amazing last dive to get into contention for medals. But these two are 3.3. which equates to a reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists for the Mexicans. I'm sure they'll have some up their sleeve for the end. They normally do. Yeah, we've got some 3.8s to come. It's going to be all the fun of the fair in the final round. The penultimate round, they're going for reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. And up around the 80 mark, they will have a clear lead over Russia.
A little bit short from your here as he went into the water. Synchronisation was pretty good. It's 3.3. I don't know. I think that's going to split. They're just going to slot in around about just above or just below Great Britain with that one. It's a little bit behind Russia. Synchronisation is good. Well, it's going to be bunched up wherever they are. Where are they, Bob?
You're back to your bananas again with the bunched up, aren't you? 3:38.31. 72.27 it is, rounded up to 72.3 on your screen from Ocampo and Pacheco. Kovasav and Kvasha. Hello, we're into the 3.8s now. Hold on to your tights. Forward 4.5 somersaults.
Well, I'm pleased to say I'm not wearing any tights. It's warm in the aquatic centre and it's warming up here in the men's 3-metre synchro. That is the first of several front 4.5s we're going to see. And the Ukrainians here have laid it on the line with this one. This is good. Execution letting them down a little bit, but the synchronisation is bang on the money. And because of the degree of difficulty, that's going to be high 80s. High rolling indeed.
88.9 for the Ukraine. Takes them into the lead by 15, but remember that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs who are going to do a 3.8 in the final round.
Big round.
Things will change.
This is decisive for this pair.
It's 3.5. It's reverse 3.5 somersaults for, at the moment, our runaway leaders, He Chong and Chin Kai.
Oh, they're going to run away with that one. That's the dive of the competition so far. 3.5. Real class. Remarkable. Yeah. The traditional Chinese bow after performing any of their dives, and this one is a biggie. This will go way over 90. Look at this. If you're watching and you know anything about synchronized diving, then you don't need me to tell you that that was really, really good. Wow. Perfect unison. Big dive, big scores, runaway leaders.
93, no less. For the Chinese. 382.77. Already they have a lead over Ukraine of 22. Here come the Germans quickly with a reverse 3.5 somersaults.
Oh, it's okay. It's a bit scrappy. And Patrick's all over the shop with his hurdle steps. He hasn't landed on the end yet. He's been everywhere but the end of that diving board. And you can see, for whatever reason, he's not quite on his game. He looks okay here, but then he starts to drift towards me. Towards you at home, nowhere near the end of the diving board, then he has to shift his hips forward in order to get a safe distance from it. Does a brilliant job considering, and they've been outclassed by the Chinese and they're slowly slipping away in this competition.
Yeah, 6th place for them. No great execution mark. Synchro's okay. 8 across the board, but not today for Feck and Housting. So, where are we at at the end of round 5. One more round to come here at the Aquatic Centre in London, and still we can't say where the silver and bronze are going to go. I think we might be fairly confident in predicting China for the gold. So look at that, still very tight. Marks can be made up with the 3.8s. Big cheer, big local support, because I think everybody here knows just how big this dive is. It is 3.8. It's a forward 4.5 somersaults for Jack Law and Chris Mears. Here they go.
Oh, nice work. Rising to the occasion for the home crowds. A little bit scrappy. Will it be good enough for a medal? We will wait and see. Not as good as the Ukrainians, but a great effort from this newly formed pair. Their first World Series. Chris, furthest from us, has had an injury this year, which has kept him out. He's now back in the mix. That's their biggest dive. Let's see what they get. The synchro's good. Synchro's good. So, yeah.
I think I detect a few boos in the Aquatic Centre.
What? 4.5? What's that for?
Well,
that's ridiculous.
It's gone anyway. They're taking it off as an 8 and a 7. Well, actually, on my sheet, it looked like the 4.5 was in.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder if there's an override on that, because on my original sheet, the 4.5 was there. Anyway, 431.82 is the final mark for Great Britain. Here come Kuznetsov and Zakharov. 86 will put them in the lead.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Real class, superb dive, especially from Zakharov, who was faltering a little bit, and certainly in round 4, but he's come out and he's showing the world and us how to do a forward 4.5, and this is why he's Olympic champion. Closest to us, Zakharov, up and away, squeezing in. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Down he goes. Wow, that's got 9s written all over it for me. All the way through. 96.9. Hello, Russia.
8.5s, 8.5s, and when you take the degree of difficulty of 3.8 into account, that really does ratchet up the points and puts Russia into the lead. Now, I did say the Malaysians are probably a bit too far driven. I still think they are, even with the 3.8 finish. So you'll know this dive by now. You've seen Ukraine do it, you've seen Great Britain do it, you've seen Russia do it. With this young Malaysian pair, this is quite frightening. Forward 4.5 for them. I will say that 57 will get them in there. If they could do 106, they would be second, but that would be a flying pig just disappearing over the top of the Aquatic Centre. The best they could do is the best they will do on a forward 4.5 somersault for Asmanoui. Last dive from them.
Oh, just showing how difficult that dive is. Asman losing his composure through his body as he goes in. Looked like he was electrocuted just before he went in. Seems to arms and legs splayed everywhere. Someone must have prodded him with one of those cattle prods. Anyway, good effort from this pair. So impressive. So many. Look, there we go. Legs and arms everywhere, like he was in a washing machine.
Spin cycle over. 66.1 for Asmanoui on Malaysia, and 4.5 and a 6, not really helping their cause a great deal. Into third they go for the time being, but that will change. I expected these two maybe to be pushing for the top 3. They still could, in fact. Yeah, they could. The 3.4 is not going to be the highest tariff dive you're going to see in this round, so this has to be pretty much spot on. They can go third. That's certainly going to be a temporary position for them. 72.93 will earn them that on a forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists to finish off for the Americans.
Yeah, it's a beautiful dive to finish on. Just Dwight a little further away from the diving board again than his brother Troy. Execution from both divers is good, solid. Execution, because of the difference in distance from the diving board, probably only be 8. Good effort from the US pairing. Only in fifth in Beijing, fifth in Dubai, and probably about the same today, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, they got fifth place with 392 in Dubai. Well, they are third at the moment with a 4:03.14. Okay, what do you have? Yahya Ocampo and Ramel Pacheco. Of course, they have a big dive to finish with. It's their 3.8. They'll probably do it like nobody else. A forward 4.5 somersaults. Let's see whether they can get into that top three. Good.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they're going to end up with that. Synchronization is good. Both divers over-rotating as they go in, which isn't surprising. This is an incredibly challenging dive. The crowd are holding their breath because they know how tight it is on this leaderboard. I wonder where they're going to end up with that one. Will it be behind? I think it will be. I don't think that's going to top the Russians or the British pair. Probably going to get above the US. Good effort from this Mexican pair.
All of those statements were true, Leon Taylor. 4:13.55, 75.20. For Ocampo and Pacheco, gets them in the third, but it is behind Russia and Great Britain. There's still 3 more pairs to come yet. Well, they have their big dive in round number 5. So we go from a 3.8 to a 3.4 for Gorsh, Kolosov and Kavasha of Ukraine. Well, they're still in with a medal chance here. 81 will put them in the lead above Russia on this forward 2.5, 2 twists.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think that'll be above the British boys, but I don't know whether that's going to be good enough to take the top spot so far from the Russians. 3.4. I mean, it's pretty solid. Is it good enough? Oh, I think it might. I don't know. Is it going to be? It's going to be really tight between Russia and Ukraine. They finished up pretty good there. Good synchro. 8 on synchro would probably be enough. Is it? Will it?
Oh, yes, it is. By
1 point.
Less than that. Less than that. 4:43.43. And Ukraine 1, Russia 2. Great Britain down in third, so no medal likely now for Laura Mears. Because here come the Chinese. Round 6. And they want to go now. Everybody else had to go at the forward 4.5. So it is their turn, probably to show how to do it better than anybody else.
Yeah, it's not as good as the Russians. It is good enough, though. Hui Chong having a little bit of trouble with his takeoff there. Thrown himself a little bit further forward than his partner, King Kai. That's good enough. That's an easy win for the Chinese. That's probably their worst of the optional dives there. But still, win it by a country mile. Easy win. And their first of the World Diving Series in this event, interestingly enough. China won.
Well, they couldn't do it in Beijing or Dubai, but they've done it in London. Chong and King Kai get the win they want. A bit more demonstrative here, because they needed that, they wanted that, and they went out and earned it. Because one of the pairs that denied them in a previous event won't be getting a medal today. Well, not likely to be anyway. Now they're outside medal chances now. Feck and Housding finishing with a reverse 2.5 and 1.5 twists.
Oh, did he hit his feet on the board then? Patrick Housding all over the shop on his hurdle steps. I'm sorry, Patrick, but oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening out there today. I think he hit his feet. Let's look at the replay. I'm not surprised. He's way back from the end, and he's tall. He's a big dude. So look at this. Another rubbish hurdle step. Oh my goodness, he's by the fulcrum. Here he is, 1.5 twist, 2.5 somersaults. Here's the diving board. Dunk. There we are. He won't have hurt himself then, but should only get like a 2 from the judges, really, because that's dangerous. Hitting the diving board, stating the obvious here, but obviously hitting the diving board is dangerous. Yeah, well done, Leon. You can come back. There we are. Oh.
Well, that's cheap pedicure, but I'll go next door and get one done for about 15 quid, if I were you.
Unfortunately, he's okay.
Execution marks, you'll look out, 4.5 and 6.5, and, well, the Germans who won, well, legs are going to finish bottom of the table, amazingly. So the old order is finally restored in the men's 3-meter synchro. Forget your pretenders, Russia. Forget your pretenders, Germany. China are back on top. No doubting who was the class act today, as they so often are. Chong and Chin Kai winning that by a full 26 points. Here comes your final standings. China with gold, Ukraine with silver. Very tight between them and Russia, but Ukraine getting in the better of the Russians in third, and just missing out by 11 points in the end, or thereabouts. Great Britain from third, Mexico, USA, and look at Germany in the bottom. Who would have predicted that? 83 points behind China in the final standings. Ukraine 443.43, and Russia 442.69. Great Britain 431.82. Mexico in fifth, United States in sixth, Malaysia in seventh, and Germany, rather surprisingly, in eighth. 53.4 they ended up with, which was their worst dive. There are the Russians. Again, a newish pairing. Illich and Polyakova for Russia. Well, the Russian pair in the women's, and in the men's, Kuznetsov and Zakharov up on the podium. Bronze for them. .42.62. Oh, does that indicate she's getting married? Or has got married? Or is marrying somebody in London? I don't know. Interpret that how you will. Second place. And a very good second place it was too. For Alexander Bush-Kozav and Ilya Basha. So we know about Ilya Basha. We now know a lot about his younger companion on the 3-meter board. Big smiles. I'm sure they're watching in Kiev where they train. And will be thrilled. They picked up a silver medal. Only just squeaked into second, but they did. Enjoying the younger Ukraine diver, his first competition in this building. Basha has been here before. He was here at the 2012 London Olympics. That's the supporting cast, if you like, before it turned out to be another mightily impressive display. They waited 3 World Series events to stand on the top podium, but they've done it today. And they've done it by a big margin, 469.41. A smile and a wave from Chong and Chin Kai. Never were going to be headed today. However they faltered, whatever they faltered with in the first two. Didn't ever look like doing it today. 469.41. I think you could call that comprehensive, winning that by 26 points. And on that kind of form, it's difficult to see how in the rest of the competition they are going to be beaten in the remainder of the World Series events to come. Moscow next, Windsor in Canada to follow that. And once again, you'll know this by now, it's the Chinese national anthem for the gold medalists. So that concludes the medal ceremony for the 3-meter synchro platform for men. China, Ukraine and Russia, 4 we depart. I let Leon Taylor go out into the wee small hours in London. Party on down like he's never partied before. Your reflections back on day 1?